Mojang have a list of glitches they say they won't fix, so I found 150 of the most interesting, from extremely useful, like this completely secret entrance, to downright infuriating, like how the top textures of cauldrons, composters, and hoppers are all very slightly misaligned. Absolutely unplayable. You can X-ray through all mobs, chests, shulker boxes, and more with just a bottle of enchanting. The experience orbs are slightly transparent, so they let you see through walls. For an extra clear view, place down a lightning rod and throw a channeling trident at it. The lightning bolt you summon will give you a pretty nice idea of what's behind that wall, and you can keep doing it over and over. Just make sure your graphics aren't set to fabulous. Sorry, did that just get bigger? Tridents are also useful for activating redstone through walls when enchanted with loyalty. Throw it straight at the wall and it will press any wooden button or pressure plate on the other side, letting you make a really awesome secret door. This isn't intended behavior, but Mojang don't intend to fix it anytime soon. It's very secure too, as long as nobody breaks the wall. Not even the coolest secret door in this video anyway. In Bedrock Edition, you can have a barrel stay open forever, creating a cool circle pattern. Just push it with a piston while it's open and it will stay open until you next use it. You can't get this cursed pattern in Java Edition because you can't push barrels in that version. While a piston is moving, it very briefly lets you place blocks and interact with things on the other side of it. It's a nice way to hide your diamonds when nobody can see them. Item frames look great above a chest, apart from when you open it and the item frame glitches through. This bug was reported over 10 years ago, but Mojang won't be fixing it. I'd rather this than having item frames block chests from opening. There are loads of ways to make item frames look glitchy when you place things inside them too, and Mojang aren't planning to fix those. Placing an item frame on a lectern looks pretty weird, and Mojang say they won't fix that either. However, it can be used for some clever designs, like this arrow made with a banner and a book. You can get on top of a door by closing it on yourself and jumping up through the blocks, allowing you to get a little extra height with only one inventory slot, meaning you can pole up 128 blocks with only one stack of doors. Fun fact about that one, if you place a door or a bed, the game won't check if there's something standing where the second block will go, letting you have a bed with a mob's head poking out. That will also let you see this annoying lonely pixel that's just randomly placed on the inside of some beds. You can even see it very briefly while breaking a bed normally. Oh, you won't be able to unsee that now. You can't see through beds, but that doesn't block sunlight from burning zombies and skeletons under them. Ow! Oh, my studio! Door sounds were changed over 12 years ago, but when you go back and play those old versions, the sounds are the new ones. Sounds are separate from the version file that gets downloaded, so now you can't get the original intended experience. But we're lucky Mojang preserved these old versions at all. When you break a grass block, the breaking texture is a lot darker than it would be for dirt. That's because the side texture of a grass block is made of 2 layers, so the top can be colored based on the biome. A Mojang employee explained that it's impossible to not do this. Similarly, when you break a block under iron bars, the cracks appear on the bottom part of the bars, even though you're not breaking them. On a sign, the breaking texture appears behind the text. Only thing destroyed there is my immersion. Mangrove and dark oak signs are a bit hard to read by default. Obviously that doesn't need fixing because you can just use glow ink now. But when developer Dinnerbone said it won't be fixed, he commented that they might add glowstone ink. Over a year before the glow squid won the mob vote and glow ink got added. You can place signs on a lot of things that aren't full blocks, but where do you draw the line? You can't place them on torches or flower pots, but you can place them on pressure plates, lanterns, and cakes. Speaking of cakes, they're also inconsistent. They've got 8 red dots on them, right? Well, the item form only has 7. Is it really that hard to fix? It's just 1 pixel. I'll just cover it up with a candle. Oh, but if you use the pick block button on that candle to select it in your hotbar, it will select the cake instead. Cake also won't appear on maps, meaning you won't be able to see where you left it. Redstone dust isn't visible on a map either. Clouds aren't visible if you look at them through stained glass. Probably easier to just turn them off. When you go inside a cloud, you'll notice that they're actually made up of individual square pieces instead of being completely hollow. That's because the game places cloud pieces according to this texture. Any paintings larger than a block are also made up of smaller square pieces, with these unnecessary wooden parts that really don't add much. The painting item is an odd number of pixels wide, so it's just a little off center when you see it in the inventory. They won't fix it, but some other items haven't been marked as won't fix. Yet. Oh no, it's already taken over the stairs. I've got an idea. Glass in Bedrock Edition has a major flaw. Corner panes have a hole that you can reach through. Just walk right into it and you can easily place blocks on the other side. This works for iron bars too, so it's a great method for escaping if you combine it with lava or TNT. Careful, I do not want to blow this whole place up. Too many memories. If you want to float downwards without taking any fall damage, the levitation effect actually might help. With a multiplier over 127, it will make you rocket downwards completely safely. Needs commands though, so I can't use that here. And whatever you do, don't expect a cauldron to break your fall. It might look like it's full of water, but that's purely cosmetic. Might be fun to trick your friends though. This was marked as won't fix for Bedrock and Java. It's still not intentional because that would have been marked as works as intended. The water also won't damage any mobs that would normally take damage from real water. That's cursed. If there's a conduit nearby, touching water should give you the conduit power effect, but you guessed it, water-filled cauldrons don't count as water. Lava cauldrons are more accurate because they will burn you, but it's still not enough to warm up a Strider. Wearing leather boots will stop you sinking into powder snow, unless it's in a cauldron. It's fine though, because you won't even get frozen if you stand in it. Neither will skeletons, which should turn into strays when inside powder snow. You can have a floating village in Bedrock Edition if it generates over a cave, because villages can't generate below sea level. This allows for some unbelievable seeds that are just waiting for you to build a secret underground base. Let's get to my secret base not far from here and figure out how to stop this thing. Combine the floating village with this glitch that causes mountains to turn into giant holes when you're millions of blocks from spawn, and you'll get this. A real floating village. The aquifers from caves generate floating in the air too, looking pretty awesome. And don't forget the ancient city right below. You can try to use this as a cool skyblock spawn, but you'll also have to deal with the glitchy movement caused by being so far out. Mojang don't let you place pink petals on a path block because they'd look weird and float off the ground. However, they can still generate on a village path if it's in a Cherry Grove biome, and Mojang aren't doing anything about it. If you spawn in a village with the bonus chest enabled, but you can't find it, that chest might still be right nearby. It has the ability to generate on top of a village house, slightly ruining the roof. Village houses aren't perfect anyway. Just one example is the Snowy Library. Looks great, but on closer inspection, some of these logs aren't placed in the same orientation as all the others. Who built these houses? It's not just the houses with confusing construction. Certain blocks in Savannah Farms generate with grass blocks underneath them. Think of the lore implications. Did the villagers only just build them? One of Minecraft's simplest traps is actually a glitch marked as won't fix. Get your friend to stand in a composter that's almost completely full with a trapdoor on top. Shut the trapdoor and they'll be completely stuck crawling in there because all that compost stops them from opening it back up. This works even better with mining fatigue. When a player is crawling, they'll appear to levitate a bit. You also might not know that all spiders float off the ground too. The path gets dangerous here, but it's the quickest way. Can't let it take over the whole town. You might be too big for a composter, but have you ever noticed that witch huts are too small to fit witches? Their hats will clip into the ceiling if they go inside their own houses. You know, maybe huts do need a redesign like villages got a while ago. They've gone unchanged for over a decade. When a mob dies, its hitbox still exists during the death animation. If there's another mob behind it, the dead one will block any attacks, making it much more important to keep moving around, so you don't keep whacking the hitboxes of mobs you've already dealt with. As well as the hitbox, any long sounds like a creeper's hiss will stick around when you defeat the mob. I know I've taken out an Enderman and heard more when it was just that 14-second long sound they make. A snow golem that's already dead will keep making snow while it gets knocked back. A user on the bug tracker submitted a simple code fix, but Mojang still said they won't fix it. You probably know that zombies break down doors on hard mode, but there's a glitch meaning they can't break doors that are open. You can easily zombie-proof a door by placing it so that it looks closed but is technically open. This has been a useful trick for over a decade, but was only marked as won't fix just a couple months before this video's release. If you come across a killer bunny, you can still sleep while it's around. It's technically just a rabbit variant, so the game thinks it's a passive mob. Something a little less hostile is a baby cow, which looks like this, right? Wrong. For some reason, Mojang changed the design of baby cows in 1.15 for Java Edition only, and they won't change it back. A bee that's been given a score with the scoreboard command will lose its score if it goes into a hive. The scoreboard is useful for map makers, but this was done to avoid exploits. Hives full of honey create these particles that drip onto the nearest block below. If you remove that block, the particles won't continue to drip, defying gravity. The particles that are emitted when you run or land on leaves aren't always the same color as the block. They take the color of the biome above the block, meaning it's possible for them to not match. Sniffers love to sploot. That is the technical term for that, and it looks like they're stuck in place, but they can be pushed. With a lead, you can even pull them around while they're digging, making a trail of particles along the way. Sitting camels can't be pushed and will stand up when you put a lead on them, so you'd expect sniffers to do the same. A lead on a tamed horse, donkey, or mule will still be visible when you open its inventory. It used to even show up on top. When you wear armor, it's quite clear when it's enchanted. When a horse wears armor, it's not clear at all. Developer Jeb marked it as won't fix and said giving them the enchantment glow is a bit difficult. Nearly everyone knows that naming a mob after developers Dinnerbone or Grum will flip them upside down. However, an upside down parrot will flip back over when it tries to sit on your shoulder. Dinnerbone himself marked this glitch as won't fix nearly 7 years ago. A more recent glitch involves the armadillo. When you startle it, the hitbox doesn't match the animation that plays. It jumps a large distance outside of its hitbox and can clip into a low ceiling. Oh, look at it. Well, we've got to save the whole world now. And there's the lab. Gotta cross this first. Mojang won't fix this glitch with world generation, meaning certain seeds repeat things over and over infinitely. Bedrock Edition has a similar glitch that creates not only infinite ravines, but even infinitely repeating ancient debris and end islands too. The end doesn't generate as randomly as the overworld. Find your world seed and add this number to get a shadow seed with exactly the same end island shapes and end city locations. If you think those are really rare chances, have a look at this seed where a pillager outpost generates inside a desert pyramid. Mojang won't be preventing this from happening, and I'm glad. Glitchy structures like these are so fun to come across. What's not fun is when a naturally generated pool of lava burns your house down, even if you cover it up with non-flammable blocks. Pro tip, don't build your house next to a lava pit. We should probably burn this bridge. Oh, but it's been here for years. Alright, let's go in. It's dark in here. You'd expect night vision to brighten everything up, but one thing it can't brighten is the book placed on a lectern. Very weird, and even more odd that they won't fix it. Hold a book in your offhand and try putting it in a chiseled bookshelf. It won't go in, even though it's just fine going on a lectern. You don't want night vision when you're fighting an illusioner, because their clones are always the same brightness as the true one. If the real one goes in a dark spot, all the others will get dark too, showing who's the real illusioner. Here's an amazing hidden base entrance. To open it, all you need is a bow and arrow. Just hit the top half of this block and the door will open right up. How does it work? There's a wooden pressure plate above the block, and the arrow's hitbox is big enough to activate it. It's an ancient glitch, but it looks like it'll work for years to come. The lab's down here. Been digging this place out for years. No way that thing's getting this far down. I know a villager who can help us. Careful coming through here. You can get stuck in bedrock forever if you've got no blocks to build out with, permanently trapping yourself. Oh, unlucky. Mojang developer Sliced Lime said, given how extremely rare this problem is, we will not be changing the generation of the world to fix it. Placing a gravity-affected block like gravel or concrete powder on the bottom layer of the world makes it stop being affected by gravity. They can still fall into the void if they're placed a block higher, making this bug a really weird one. Oh, and you don't even need the void if you want to fall out of the world in Bedrock Edition. Ironic. If you travel about 65,000 blocks out, which is reasonable with an elytra in the nether, you can fall through the world if you walk into blocks the wrong way. You can do this as low as 512 blocks out too, but that's harder. This is marked as won't fix. No wonder it took so long to add hardcore mode. This beacon doesn't leak the location of this secret lab because it's placed so low down that it's too far away to be rendered when you're on the surface. You still get all the effects, but no beam. No, what is the point of calling it a beacon if you can't see it? A part of the beam you can see is this part that sticks out at the bottom. When you break the block under the beacon, it stays visible until the beacon powers off. Sure, it's not visible for very long, but can't they just move it up a tiny bit? When you move out of range of a beacon, you might not have noticed that the effect indicator doesn't blink before it runs out, like regular potion effects do. Jeb says there would simply be too much code to fix this. Now, for a long time, I didn't even know that in third-person mode, the camera moves through glass. Well, that doesn't work for beacons, which were made of glass last time I checked. It's the same for cacti, even though with those, you can actually interact with blocks through the gap. Put a bubble column in the middle, and you can swim up cacti like a very painful elevator. Here he is. Hired this guy from another lab, and he's never let me down. Huh? What? Oh, hello? Oh no. That's no glitch. That's a virus. We should get a move on. Jukeboxes won't continue to play if you leave the game and rejoin. This bug was reported 11 years ago, but was only marked as won't fix in 2021. You can go out of range and it will still be playing when you get back. But for anyone who isn't around when the jukebox starts playing, it won't make a sound when you go near it. If you manually set the tick rate using the tick command to speed up the game, jukeboxes will finish early because their internal timer speeds up, but the music doesn't. We're gonna have to figure out this thing's weakness ourselves. Made of wool, shears. When you shear a pumpkin to carve it, that can cause the top texture to rotate around because carved pumpkins are directional, but normal ones aren't. No, it's not your average wool. What about fireworks? Crossbows loaded with fireworks look different to ones loaded with arrows, so isn't it annoying that when you shoot a tipped arrow, it looks just like a regular one? It means that the poison and slowness arrows that bogs and strays use aren't visible in their bows. Missed opportunity in my opinion, but Mojang said they wouldn't fix it 8 years ago. When a skeleton draws its bow, the string clips into its head anyway because of the raised arm position, and that's also won't fix on the bug tracker. Great, fireworks don't work either. Don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. In here, might have just gotten us trapped, but I think these might help. When you light TNT and it falls, the fuse sound stays in the same place and doesn't move with the TNT like you'd expect, allowing for a silent TNT ambush. Well, apart from the explosion sound. Okay, that works, but we can't just destroy everything it's touched. Is nothing gonna work? Oh, we're stuck here while the whole world's getting destroyed. Oh, Wow, might need some of this water. When there's water above a block, particles drip through. But if that block is an upside down slab, the particles appear in the empty half of the block. They're not fixing it for Bedrock Edition, but it was fixed for Java. However, those particles aren't perfect in Java Edition. The game only checks that the bottom part of the block is solid, so the particles generate floating in the air around a hopper. Not sure why, but it's not changing. Weirdly, the stem of a big drip leaf is a lot darker in the inventory compared to a small drip leaf. Weirder than that, the Frostwalker enchantment doesn't work when walking along big drip leaves. So we've got to wet the tower and cut this virus off at its source. Can I have a map? Actually, maybe don't trade with cartographers. There's a bug Mojang won't fix, causing the game to make loads of files in your world folder when it tries to locate structures for villagers' maps. I did a quick test leveling up 5 villagers and managed to make 500 completely empty files. I'll pass on the map. If I'm right, we can remotely activate the sprinklers from the lab's control center. We'll get there from the minecart station. One of Minecraft's lesser known Easter eggs is if you name a Vindicator Johnny, it will attack any mob. It won't attack baby villagers, which works as intended, but in Bedrock Edition, they don't care about their children and will not hesitate to get rid of them. It's not Mojang's intention, but it won't be fixed. Oh, you can actually start your world in an ancient city if you're lucky. Haha, can't get me on here. It's possible for an ancient city to generate a spawn with a massive cave above it. When you spawn in, there's no land for you to stand on, so the game places you deep in the Warden's domain. Mojang can't change how spawn points work, so they can't fix the very unlucky ones caused by the updated caves. So you can't deny it is an absolutely incredible structure. Those floaty bits in caves are a bit unrealistic, aren't they? It would make a lot more sense if they were connected to the ceiling and floor. They sometimes connect, but for some reason Mojang marked this issue as won't fix. Random world generation can be pretty unpredictable at times. That randomness could be even more unlucky if an ancient city generates with water or lava flowing into it. This can give you a flooded city or cause the wall floors to burn away, making it hard to keep quiet. If a warden makes a sonic boom and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, technically no. If you die or go out of range before it's fully ready, the warden will continue the animation, but there won't be any particles and it will be completely silent. This next glitch is really cute and scary. If an axolotl that's playing dead somehow angers a warden, how could you get angry with that? The warden will roar at it repeatedly. It won't stop until the axolotl stops playing dead. Here's another axolotl glitch, and this one's pretty funny. If you spawn an axolotl with another mob riding it, they'll move like normal at first and then start zooming around really quickly. I've got no idea why this happens, but Mojang said it won't be fixed. When you hit a villager, those angry clouds always appear and it changes its trade prices. That's completely normal, but if it somehow has a totem of undying and your hit causes it to use that, the particles don't appear, but it does still change its prices. Oh, didn't realize there was dripstone there. It doesn't help that the hitbox of falling dripstone is slightly bigger than it looks, meaning you could get hit on the head even if it looks like you've moved out of the way. Oh, look at that. A dungeon can intersect with an ancient city and end up having its floor cut off. I would not want to dig into that by accident. Dungeons can normally only have a maximum of 2 chests, but if you're lucky, and I mean really lucky, 2 dungeons with 2 chests each can generate in exactly the same spot, giving you 4 chests and a nice amount of loot with half the fighting. A dungeon can also intersect with trial chambers, creating a lovely combination of the old dungeons from 2010 and the fancy new ones from 2024. Inside the trial chambers, you'll find the Breeze. These are completely immune to fall damage because of their giant leaps, but for some reason, if you put one on a podium, it won't walk off the edge because it doesn't want to take fall damage. Mojang said they won't be changing its AI to fix that. And speaking of taking fall damage, yes, didn't need to. The station's just round here. A weird Bedrock Edition bug is that if you put a chest minecart in complete darkness, the chest will glow slightly. With the way entity lighting works, it can't be fixed. And annoyingly, the minecart with chest item texture doesn't change at Christmas time to match the festive chests. It's a little weird placing it down and seeing a different texture, but it's not really worth Mojang's resources for something that only shows up 3 days a year. We know Minecraft's lighting isn't exactly the most realistic thing in the world. You'll see that when placing a minecart on a curved rail. The minecart doesn't appear in the exact center of the block, so its shadow appears and takes a moment to realize what's going on and get to the right place. If you're in a minecart that isn't moving and you take damage from something like a lingering potion, the minecart will get a little momentum boost each time you get hit. It's not an intentional feature, but Mojang just recently said it won't be changed back. Mojang do allow a minecart to go through a 1-block gap even with someone riding it, but they'll take damage. The unintended glitchy part is that you'll actually take that damage before you even enter the tunnel. So if you're on your last half heart, you should probably disembark a little earlier than planned. If an Enderman gets in a minecart, where's he going? It will sit really weirdly and float above the minecart. It's not just minecarts either. This happens for anything an Enderman rides. So they can teleport, so is it really that surprising? You'd expect lava to break rails, but it doesn't anymore. It used to until water was changed because of waterlogging. Lava inherited those properties, so this glitch pretty much became a feature because they won't be fixing it. Why is there lava on the track anyway? Oh, that's where it's been. to the Nether instead. There are some really cool Nether glitches that won't be fixed. Starting with the portal. If you use commands to get a single portal block and put a carpet on top, running on it won't make any particles, but falling on it will. The same thing happens for end portals, which you are able to put carpets on in normal gameplay. It's a slightly infuriating inconsistency. Remember that awesome secret entrance from earlier? Well, there's a similar glitch with Nether and end portals. If you shoot an arrow at the corner of a portal block covered in glass or an end portal frame, the arrow's hitbox is just big enough for it to squeeze through and teleport. Right, we should be safe here for a bit. It's lucky we didn't spawn up there on the Nether roof. In 2019, Mojang broke portal linking, accidentally allowing overworld portals to link up with ones on the Nether roof. Honestly, I'm surprised it wasn't already possible. If you do get stuck on the Nether roof, you'll have plenty of mushrooms to eat. In 2014, Mojang confirmed that to be a bug that they won't fix. It is fixed in Bedrock Edition because you can't actually place blocks up there in that version. Compasses are supposed to spin like crazy in the Nether, but they'll go even faster in an item frame. A clock in an item frame goes at the same speed, and Dinnerbone commented on this inconsistency, saying, let's call it an intended bug. That's one way of describing it. In the overworld, a compass in an item frame will point to the spawn from the item frame's position, and it's like that when a mob gets one. However, when a compass is in a chest, it points from the player's position. Compasses are quite inconsistent. Man, I'm glad that thing can't get through portals. Oh. The chest is really ugly sometimes in Bedrock Edition. When you break it, the breaking texture is way off center because it's an animated block. Oh, these supplies are useless. The chest also looks so strange in the hotbar and is completely flat, even though other blocks like the anvil are just fine being 3D. The more recently added pot got around the breaking texture glitch by being broken instantly. That is convenient. And when a decorated pot is in your hotbar in Bedrock Edition, it doesn't have any shadows on the sides like pretty much every other block. At least it's not as bad as how the chest looks. Whoops. Never bridge with a decorated pot in Bedrock Edition. If you try to use the Bedrock exclusive bridging method and the block you're on can be used, it will use that block instead of placing what you're holding. Hoglins, Zoglins, and Ravagers all have hitboxes that aren't centered, meaning their heads can't be punched from the side, which is good to know for a future fight. And if a Ravager gets stunned, its neck can clip out the side of its body. Their heads aren't even attached properly either. When one of them looks down, its head completely disconnects. There's been a glitch with ghasts for 11 years. They actually used to have an expanding animation when getting a fireball ready. The effect didn't work in multiplayer, so when LAN mode was added in 1.3, this broke the feature for single player too. The code was then entirely removed in 2014. They did fix another bug caused by the same feature, but this one's staying as is for some reason. Oh, for it's okay, I'm alright. Oh, I can't get across. You know those little soul particles that appear when you're using soul speed boots? Well, in Bedrock Edition, they're always really bright, no matter the light level. This doesn't happen in Java Edition. And speaking of particles, does your game ever lag in these particle-filled nether biomes? That definitely isn't helped by this bug causing those particles to appear under the lava, where, yep, you can't see them even if you try. That's not the craziest part. They even appear in the void under the bedrock. They removed void particles from the overworld for performance reasons, so why are there particles under the nether bedrock? Now, the nether isn't exactly realistic, but these basalt columns are based on how they occur in real life after lava cools. So it's pretty weird that in rare cases, the basalt can generate on top of trees. Not sure that would happen in real life. Oh, made me jump. When a piglin wears a mob head, it doesn't replace the piglin's head model. It combines them. Their ears and snout always stick out. Give it a piglin head and it will have 4 ears. When a piglin starts dancing and you leave the game, it will stop dancing. Clearly it's devastated that you left. Nah, it's because the game's code doesn't save that it's dancing. The game also doesn't save the rotation of a piglin head's ears either. What a shame. However, it is slightly annoying that if you place a dragon head on the wall and really want its mouth to be closed, the game won't remember that when you log back in, requiring you to set it up all over again. Back in 1.17, the title screen background had glitched out water caused by a bug in the snapshot they took the screenshot in. Obviously, it's been changed since, but they chose not to fix it even when it was the first thing you'd see when loading up the game. Oh wait, the one they changed it to in 1.18 had another mistake. There's a missing chunk right here. That one's far less noticeable, so I don't really blame them for choosing not to fix that. When you go back to play your world in Bedrock Edition, if you quit the game in third person while holding any of these items, they'll look really weird in the preview image. It's really cursed, but Mojang never gave a reason why they won't be fixing it. Apparently, it's also a bug that dragon heads only take up one block, letting you place things where the mouth is. If the water from a wet sponge evaporates in the nether, that won't trigger a sculk sensor. In an update post, Mojang themselves defined vibrations as anything that causes physical motion. And there's physical motion there, but they won't fix it. How did you get back here? The sensors also won't be set off by a spider climbing up a wall. Probably a good thing really when you're in an ancient city. Oh, we're supposed to use an elytra here. But we can fly without one using glitches. Gonna need some fungus, which Endermen can pick up and then place on any block, even if it can't normally support fungus. Thanks, mate. Also, netherwort actually grows deeper than you might think. There's an extra pixel of the texture inside the soul sand that you've probably never seen. Right, what were we doing? Oh yeah, this. Maybe these supplies are useful. Another very minor bug is that a warped fungus on a stick is held in a very slightly different position compared to a fishing rod or even a carrot on a stick. This could be fixed with a simple texture change. Oh, that's how it got across earlier. And if you go to sleep while using a fishing rod in your offhand, it will look like you're holding the line in your main hand. Shouldn't really be fishing while you're asleep. If you're somehow sitting on a pig that doesn't have a saddle, this doesn't work with Striders, it won't move when you're using a carrot on a stick, but it will still eat it. Bit greedy. Striders take damage in water, even if you spawn them with their AI disabled. Endermen and shulkers will even teleport away to avoid damage. Witches with no AI will still drink potions and slimes will still damage you. There are loads of bugs just like this, and a Mojang employee explained that not every part of a mob's behavior is coded as part of its AI, so it doesn't get disabled. Right, let's fly. In extremely rare cases, Striders used to spawn in really tall stacks. If you write any stack of mobs taller than the length of a lead and connect the lead to the bottom one, you can fly way up into the air. Why does it somehow make sense? It's really fast, so be careful doing this in the overworld. If your Y coordinate reaches infinity, you won't be able to turn. A Mojang developer commented on this bug with a warning. Don't go to infinity, unless you're Buzz Lightyear. In that case, you can go beyond. Luckily, ever since 1.17, if you leave the game and rejoin while above 20 million on the Y-axis, you'll be teleported back down to 20 million. Not really much of a difference up there. That is twice the height of the Earth's atmosphere. Shooting a bow while above the 20 million mark will create the arrow projectile at exactly 20 million, and it won't collide with you if you're above 8 million. Yeah, you can have water in the nether in a cauldron, but that's no bug. That one works as intended, apparently. And the portal's fenced off. Brilliant. If you jump while getting damaged by fire, you'll get a slight jump boost, which is enough to get over a fence. Jeb said they won't fix it because they'd have to change all damage knockback. Just don't do it in real life. Getting set on fire is a little weird in Bedrock Edition because your shadow will disappear. Sort of makes sense since the fire would emit light. Maybe Java's the bugged version. One fact left. Let's sort this out once and for all. Okay, just gotta find the button for the water dispensers. Oh. Yeah, that's not happening, is it? Nothing we can use here. There's no way to clean it. Well, there is still one thing we can try. Who said we actually even need to clean it? Because sometimes there are things that just can't be fixed. Redstone used to not pass through bone blocks. Falling concrete powder is smaller than a full block. Beacon beams can also go through pistons.